And we are live.
I call to order the Tuesday, November 24, 2020 District Board of Directors meeting for the Milwaukee Area Technical College. Would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Case?
Here.
Director Foley?
Here.
Director Hamilton? Director Mendieta Ramos?
Here.
Director Mitchell?
Here.
Director Mays?
Here.
Director Olson?
Here.
Director Phelps Okoro?
We're expecting her to join late.
Director Wilson?
Okay, we have a quorum. Are we in compliance with the open meetings laws?
Yes, we are in compliance with the Open Meetings Law.
I believe we have one public comment today. As a reminder, board policy A0107 states, quote, "No person may speak more than once to an issue or for a period longer than 5 minutes, except upon the consent of a majority of the district board. No more than 3 people may be heard to one side of an issue, except upon the consent of a majority of the district board." Mr. Jonathan Mearsman.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. I appreciate everybody's time. It was suggested that I share my frustration with some recent changes to the faculty credentialing or the FQAS policies that were unilaterally imposed. And so I'm just going to walk through kind of the outline of what's happened with me. So I've been in MATC as a full-time faculty member for 20 years, or in my 20th year. My previous 5-year WTCS certification expired on August 31st of this year, of 2020. I tend to be very thorough and cross my T's and dot my I's. So I actually made sure that my paperwork was submitted prior to the end of the semester in 2019, prior to summer vacation. Sure enough, everything was in. In the meantime, changes were made, and that 5-year certification went to a 4-year under the new FQAS, which I can accept because that happened in between the time that I submitted my paperwork and the time that it was accepted and approved for renewal. So come this year, June 12th of 2020, I received an email from Dr. Julie Ashlock stating, "Congratulations, you have completed the certification requirements for your 4-year certificate. The 4-year certificate is granted in recognition of your experience, training, and preparation as an educator. Your new 4-year certification will have an expiration date of June 30th, 2024. So again, this was just 5 months ago, June of this year. So as far as I was concerned, everything was in. I was valid until 2024. Just a few weeks ago, I learned when logging into SumTotal and looking at some requirements for MATC Day that I now expire in 2022. So I basically 2 years of my certificate have been revoked because of this unilateral change to the FQAS. And I reached out to Dr. Ashlock's office and asked, if there was a mistake, what was going on. They said, no, there are new rules in place. This is now going to be a 2-year cycle rather than a 4-year cycle. And naturally, I was kind of believing or assuming that that expiration would fall upon expiration of my current certificate that I received from her office in June of this year. Rather, I was told that nope, sorry, there are a lot of faculty that fall under this situation, but your case isn't that bad since you just renewed. So this is a good time to make a clean transition. I don't think that's a clean transition. So I literally lost 50% of the time. I worked hard to get that certification. And this isn't about me staying current in the field. I stay very current. I stay up to date. I teach in the web and digital media design. It's an ever-changing field, and I'm constantly staying up to date. But to now have my requirements cut literally in half, and I would think, if this happened in any other field or any other profession, Chairman Foley, I know you're an attorney, and I believe my understanding is that in the law profession, you have to have 30 credits of continuing legal education every 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. And what I would ask is, what would you do if they all of a sudden said, you know what, you just recertified, but we're going to cut a year off of that. Yeah, we'll reduce the credits a little bit, but you don't expire in 2 years, you expire in 1 year now instead. I have a friend who owns an auto shop. His ASC certification is for 5 years. He wasn't just called and said, sorry, it's only 2.5 years now. So, I worked hard to meet the requirements that were in place at the time. I met the renewal. The certification was issued to me, valid until, I have it. It says it's valid until 2024. And now all of a sudden it's chopped off and it's only valid until 2022. So I don't think this was a clean transition. I'm very frustrated with this unilateral change that has been applied. My expectation would be that, okay, in 2024, now I move over to the 2-year cycle, and that's fine. I'm not opposed to the changes themselves. I'm opposed to losing 50% of what I earned.
All right, Mr. Mearsman, thank you. Thank you for addressing the board and sharing your concerns. The board will not be responding to any matter in adherence to the state of Wisconsin open meetings law, which prevents a governing body from discussing any specific item that was not publicly noticed on the agenda. So thank you for your comment. And unfortunately, we can't go into it further today. So we'll move on with the agenda. Next is approval of the minutes for the regular board meeting of October 27, 2020. Could I have a motion to approve, please?
I motion to approve.
And I second.
I'm sorry. I believe it was Director Hamilton who seconded. Who made the motion? Mr. Mitchell, is that you?
Yes, I made the motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Director Mitchell and a second from Director Hamilton. Are there any comments, discussion, or questions about the board minutes? Hearing none, with a motion and a second, would all those in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate that by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. The minutes are approved. Next are the consent agenda items. As we have done recently, I will ask for a motion for approval of all of them at once and a second, and then we can see if there are any questions about any of them. Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Hamilton. Is there a
second? Director Olson.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions about any of these consent agenda items? Okay, I have one issue I'd like to raise. I don't know that we can get an answer today, but if not, then perhaps by the next meeting. In looking at the quarterly affirmative action report, I noticed that our faculty percentage that are Hispanic is at 6.99% versus a district labor force of 4.47%. But our efforts at becoming an official Hispanic serving institution would require us, based on student population, to have 25% of the faculty be Hispanic. And given the district labor force requirements, district labor force percentages, I don't know how we get there. Do we have someone that can address that question today?
Chair Foley, I'll be glad to address that question. This is Mohammed Dakwar.
Go ahead.
Yeah, really the main reason for this is a serious shortage in the local and the regional labor market. And, we're in the process of expanding our recruitment efforts to try to explore other markets. We're going to go into the Chicago area, maybe other states as well. We have a big advocate, overseeing much of the activities of the Hispanic Serving Institute, Dr. Wilma Bonaparte. She's an excellent resource. She's going to be working with us. And we have a number of key organizations that we're going to be tapping into, sometime soon. Human Resources Office also has been aware of this, and they're working very closely with us to make sure that we do the best we can to really try to attract more faculty, Hispanic faculty in this case, to teach our classes.
Thank you. Dr. Martin.
Yes, I would just like to clarify that becoming a Hispanic serving institution requires us to have a student population at 25% Hispanic. So of course, we would love to have that same number in our faculty and in our staff to be role models, but it's only a requirement for the students.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Is there a goal that we've set in connection with becoming an Hispanic serving institution in terms of faculty percentage? Dr. Martin, have we sent it, or Vice President Dacquar, either way?
I'm going to have to revisit the exact percentages, but the answer to your question is yes. We do have those metrics and those percentages, yes.
Okay.
I just put them in the chat from the strategic plan.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, so the answer is we're trying to get the staff and faculty to 10% by 2025. All right, that sounds a lot more realistic than 25%. All right, we have a motion from Director Hamilton and a second from Director Olson to approve the consent agenda items. I believe there are no more questions or comments. Would all those in favor of approval of the consent agenda items indicate that by saying aye?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion to approve passes. Next are the board action items. First is Resolution F0155-11-20, authorizing the sale of $1.5 million in general obligation promissory notes, Series 2020-2021F of Milwaukee Area Technical College District, Wisconsin. Mr. Meehan, would you tell us about this, please?
I'd be happy to. Good afternoon, everyone. As by previous action, the board had authorized the issuance of the $1.5 million note. We did go to Moody's, got the rating confirmed, which is the back of the handout. We also then conducted the bid opening this morning at 9:30. And I know we have the resolution up on the screen now, but I don't know if our PowerPoint presentation could be put up instead. Well, maybe not. Let's see. I'll just go ahead then. Oh, there we go. Or there we were. Well, I can certainly go ahead and just start walking through the presentation. It's what the board has seen in the past on other transactions. As part of the bid opening this morning, we received 7 bidders, which is always great news to get 7 bidders. You'll remember the last sale, thank you. The last sale, we received 1 bid. And part of that, we had somewhat written off to the upcoming election, and there are a certain amount of hesitancy of bidders to step into the marketplace. But the 7 bidders is great to have. A familiar name was a winner, Fidelity Capital Markets. They have won the notes in the past, and they came in at a 0.438 true interest costs. So those rates are significantly lower than we saw last time. Last time, the 1 bid was from BNY Mellon, and that came in at a 0.66. So when you look at the sheet, the 1 through 7 here, the 7th place bid was what we received last month. And it's a matter of last month was right before the election, and this week is a quieter week. This week, this is the last sale of the week heading into Thanksgiving. And yet, I think the familiarity of your name resulted in an aggressive bid. Next page, please. The issue summary itself, and once again, it's 1.5 million. The data date and settlement date, that's the funds will be transferred to the district on December 15th. The maturities are June 1, as the other debt of the district is, June 1 beginning in 22 through the year 25, with interest payments beginning next June 1 of 2021. At your previous board meeting, you set the levy for debt service payments during calendar year 21, so funds will be on hand for those payments. The debt's non-callable. As I said, the rating was confirmed at AA1 at a true interest cost of 0.43. Next, please. On this page, what really shows is the overall financing plan. And in the orange colored right in the center of the page, it's the series which you'll be considering today, which is the Series F, dated December 15, 2020. You'll also, on your agenda, have the initial resolution for Series G, the $1.5 million, which we'll be selling at your December 15th meeting. Right now, we are on track for the levy, which was set at $43 million for debt service payments. Next page, please. And what follows is the rating report. I would say to you the language is very similar to what you saw in the previous report. My one comment would be that we provide to Moody's the draft financial, your draft CAFR, as well as they have the 2019 CAFR, but they don't consider it a final CAFR until board acts later today, because that is also on your agenda. But the rating language hasn't changed. Overall, I would say it was a good sale. Obviously, 7 bidders is a lot of participation, and we would recommend that you award the bonds to Fidelity Capital Markets. Mr. Chair, I'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions? There being none, could I have a motion and a second for approval of the sale?
So moved.
Second. Director Case.
Okay. So we have a motion by Director Olson, a second by Director Case. Any further discussion?
Did you hear my motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, Director Wilson. I didn't realize you were on. Very good, thank you. So motion by Director Wilson and a second by Director Case. And we need a roll call for this.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Mendieta Ramos,
Aye.
Director Mitchell,
You're on mute, Director Mitchell.
Aye.
Director Mays,
Aye.
Director Olson,
Aye.
Director Phelps-Socorro, Director Wilson,
Aye.
Director Case,
Aye.
Director Foley.
Aye. The motion to approve the bond sale passes. Thank you, Mr. Meehan. Next is Resolution F0156-11-20, authorizing the issuance of $1.5 million general obligation promissory notes, Series 2020-2021G of Milwaukee Area Technical College District, Wisconsin. Could I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Wilson. We have a second by Director Case. This is a pretty standard motion for us. Are there any questions, comments, etc.? There being none, would you please take the roll call vote?
Director Mendieta Ramos,
Aye.
Director Mitchell,
Aye.
Director Mays,
Aye.
Director Olson,
Aye.
Director Wilson,
Aye.
Director Case,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Foley.
Aye. Motion passes. Next is Resolution F0157-11-20 to approve the fiscal year 2019-2020 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Vice President Hollow, would you please tell us about this?
Yes, I would like to introduce Paul France, partner from Baker Tilly, and he will take us through the approval of the CAFR.
Thank you, Jeff. I had provided a one-page handout in advance. I also can share my screen, or if somebody else would like to share the screen of my handout. Otherwise, I can summarize it very, very quickly. Again, my name is Paul France. I'm a partner with Baker Tilly here in Milwaukee, and I'm privileged to work with Jeff and Eva and their support teams on the financial audit of MATC. We've thank you very much. We've issued our opinion on the comprehensive annual financial report along with the TV station financial report. Both opinions were unmodified opinions, also known as a clean bill of health. So that is the highest level of assurance that you can receive from your external auditor. What that means is that all necessary accounting principles have been adopted, they've been applied consistently year over year, and that all necessary financial disclosures have been made within those documents. Additionally, we've issued a letter with some audit results, which that document holds some required communications that we need to have with you as the governing body. In this letter, we did not identify during the audit process any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies to bring to your attention. In this letter, we also provide some other comments and informational points for consideration focused around new accounting pronouncements that are coming down the line that will work hand in hand with management on in future periods. And lastly is the required communication section. In there, we highlight the accounting estimates that we evaluated as part of our audit process that management had included within the financial reports. We can confirm that they were clear, neutral, and non-biased, meaning that they're appropriate to be within the financial statements. We define any new accounting principles that were adopted. And lastly, confirm that we are independent, which allows us to provide you the opinion that we have. The last thing I'll note on here is that typically we would also, our partners in the audit process, Coleman and Williams, would have issued their single audit report. Due to some guidance that is still needed related to the CARES funding, guidance specific to what audit requirements us as auditors need to perform. That work is not finalized yet, but that report will be issued by Coleman and Williams once that guidance is provided. So we are working with management on those open items and staying tuned to the information that will be released by regulatory agencies, hopefully shortly. So with that, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, thank you, Mr. France. Do you have anything else to say?
I don't, no.
Okay. Could I have a motion and second for approval of the comprehensive annual financial report, please?
Motion to approve. Mays.
Second, Wilson.
Okay, motion from Director Mays, a second from Director Wilson. Are there any further questions, comments, et cetera, about this motion? There being none, Ms. Green, would you please take the roll call?
Director Mitchell,
Aye.
Director Mays,
Aye.
Director Olson,
Aye.
Director Wilson,
Aye.
Director Case,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Mendieta Ramos,
Aye.
Director Foley.
Aye. Motion passes. That commentary about the approval of the single audit report means that there is nothing to vote on there, so we won't take that as the next agenda item. Our next agenda item is approval of the auditor's communication to those charged with governance and management. Mr. Hollow, would you tell us about this, please?
Once again, I would like to introduce Paul France to explain the approval of the auditor's communication to those charged with governance and management.
Thank you, Mr. France.
Thank you, and I apologize. Each year that I do this, I forget that we do this in stages. And so I've touched on the audit results letter, but again, this is required under our professional standards to communicate a number of different aspects to you. There's nothing unusual in that letter, and highlights really some things that we're working on with management moving forward. And so I'll just highlight again, great support in management to complete the audit. We completed it fully remotely, which was difficult on both sides to navigate through, but happy ultimately with the outcome. We were not inhibited in any way because of it. And that's a testament to Jeff and his team.
I would like to just just acknowledge a couple people in this process. Across the college, many people contributed to this audit report, but I just want to mention a handful from the business office that put a significant amount of time and once again this year did an excellent job. Their names are Mary Mathers, Sue Jarvis, Brenda Schmidt, Amelia Meinhardt, and the person who orchestrated the audit was Eva Keither. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Hollow. Thank you for identifying the people that were important to reaching this result. Could I have a motion and a second for approval of the auditor's communication, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's a chorus.
It is.
I think we have a motion by Director Olson and a second by Director Mendieta Ramos. Is that right, or did I get that one wrong? No, who was it? I'm sorry.
Case.
Phelps Okoro.
Director Case. Okay. And welcome, Director Phelps Okoro. So we have a motion by Director Olson, a second by Director Case. Any further questions about the approval of the auditor's communication? All right. Would all those in favor of approval please indicate that by saying aye?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Next agenda item are reports, beginning with the chairperson's report. I'm pleased to report that our president, that's Dr. Vicki J. Martin, in case any of you had any doubts about that, received honorable mention as Executive of the Year by the Milwaukee Business Journal. This is a very high honor. She was one of only 5 executives to be given this award. This speaks volumes about her and her leadership on this college. On behalf of the board, I want to express our heartfelt congratulations on a well-deserved recognition. Congratulations, Dr. Martin.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it gets better. In addition to this honor, the Business Journal also named Dr. Martin as one of the 2020 Milwaukee area power brokers. So congratulations again, Dr. Martin.
Thank you
Are
all.
you afraid?
Congratulations.
As I mentioned last month under new business, I'm looking for the board's input on topics for our spring board retreat. Please email me with any suggestions. We will discuss the aspects and ideas of a virtual retreat at our January meeting, depending on where we as a society are at that point. One topic that has been suggested is that we delve deeper or decide whether we need to delve deeper into the equity issues that our ad hoc committee has spent some time on. But I'm looking for other suggestions as well. Also in January, the Wisconsin District Boards Association will hold its quarterly meeting virtually, focusing on the Wisconsin capital climate. They plan to have a panel of capital reporters and 2 bipartisan legislators to give members different perspectives. Please let Beth or Gwen know if you are able to attend so they can register you. In a typical year, the Association of Community College Trustees holds a National Legislative Summit in February in Washington, D.C. Trustees have the opportunity to hear from members of the U.S. Congress and leading policy analysts. It also affords us the opportunity to meet directly with our U.S. representatives in Congress to advocate for their support for community colleges and our students. Our District Boards Association is working along with Janice Falkenberg to have meetings with MATC district legislators scheduled virtually in January and February in lieu of the in-person meetings. Please look for these calendar invites, and I hope you are able to attend some of these. Finally, during the Thanksgiving season, I want to thank the board members, faculty, and staff for your commitment throughout the year to the college and its students. Thank you. Next is the president's report. Dr. Martin.
Well, thank you, and good evening, Chair Foley, board members, faculty, staff, students, and MATC community. I begin with great sadness that I share news of Melanie Holmes, a longtime friend of the college, passing away yesterday after a long and brave battle with cancer. Melanie served on the college district board from 2008 to 2012 and was chair of the board of directors from 2010 to 2012. She was a remarkable woman who dedicated her time and passion to serve and support our college. She consistently demonstrated her commitment to our college and our students through her philanthropic gifts to the MATC Foundation. Her bright light will be missed. On behalf of the entire college, I offer our heartfelt condolences to her family and friends and her colleagues who, some of you are still on this board. A college-wide listening session was held on Tuesday, November 17th with over 200 employees who joined us on the Zoom meeting. These sessions are an important way for our college to stay connected to one another and to provide a vehicle for our employees to ask questions, to share their experiences, and to make comments. I will continue to hold these meetings throughout the year, especially given all that's happening in our community. During the last board meeting, we heard from faculty who expressed their concern over the amount of work that faculty are being tasked with considering the move to virtual instruction and the college's request to condense classes where feasible. Faculty requested help prioritizing the workload and asked for allowances to be given for missed due dates. A subcommittee representing a cross-section of the college met to collaboratively review and prioritize the list of tasks provided by Local 212 Executive Director Kevin Mulvena and shared it with the board. I just wanted to give you a little update of all the tasks that were identified. They mutually agreed to top 4 priorities, and immediate solutions were identified, which included building flexibility into our non-student contact day and extending the deadlines for our sum total, our HR compliance system, just to name a few. Thanks to Dr. Dockware and his team for working to reach this positive outcome. The launch of the Moonshot for Equity initiative garnered a lot of positive media coverage, both locally and nationally, underscoring MATC's commitment to eliminating equity gaps in our region and showcasing our willingness to step up and try innovative ways, even during these difficult pandemic times, to overcome systemic racism. Thanks to our marketing and communication team, Laura Bray, Tony Tagliavia, and others who helped with a lot of the messaging that went out. Construction crews officially broke ground last week on our building housing project in the former Milwaukee Journal Sentinel building downtown. This project is the first of its kind in Milwaukee, and a new property category was created in city development called affordable student housing. Plans call for the first students to move in by August of 2021, thanks to Janice Falkenberg for her leadership and many others who helped make this successful. Tonight's consent agenda on our HR report included the hiring of Dr. Nadine Gonzalez de Jesus as the college's Executive Vice President of Student Success. Dr. Gonzalez de Jesus will join the college next Monday in this new role, and I look forward to introducing her at our December board meeting. In a reflection of what's happening in our community, the college has seen an increase in COVID cases among our students and employees. To limit the spread of COVID-19, and as we have prioritized health and safety of our students and our employees, we are launching 100% virtual support services for students starting November 30th with limited in-person services for students unable to connect via computer. This limited staff will be on campus to connect during service hours. The college has also added a chatbot to help service the students who will contact our webpage. Thanks to Tony again and his staff and the IT group for making that a reality. I'd like to thank our Dean, Carl Meredith, Maricela Galaviz, who runs student services at the Oak Creek campus, and Tony again for their exceptional efforts on these projects. This concludes my report. I too wish you a healthy and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. First, I would like to say thank you for responding so quickly to the concerns that Mr. Mulvaney expressed at the last board meeting. I think that's great. Does anyone else have any questions for Dr. Martin? All right, thank you, Dr. Martin. Next is the District Student Senate Report by Brandy Martin. I'm looking around. Brandy, are you on the phone? Or are you on? There we go. Go ahead.
Thank you. Members of the MATC District Board, Dr. Vicki Martin, and administration, I'm happy to be here tonight. And I would like to inform you all that district student government continues to move forward with representing the student body and working towards improvements despite being impacted by some scheduling challenges due to the pandemic. One of these bodies of work consists of a current project to draft a policy on inactive student club accounts for management of stagnant funds. This policy, when completed, aims to improve the student experience by redistributing the funding that is not being used. Student Life continues to offer events that the student body have the opportunity to attend. This includes 2 unique series titled The Heart of a Hall of Famer and Before the Snap. These events inspired students through the story of professional athletes and other athletic leaders' journeys to their success. Some notable speakers include Andre Reed, the former wide receiver for Buffalo Bills and Washington Redskins, and Jesse Lovejoy, the director of the 49ers. This past Saturday, Student Life partnered with the HBCU Summit, to host a historically Black colleges and university virtual tours in place of the normal in-person tours. 50 MATC students were able to sign up and participate and look at a possible future attending one of these colleges. An event that I am personally looking forward to is the virtual tour of Candy Cane Land. I am hopeful that this opportunity should let more students participate in this classic while staying safe during COVID. Lastly, I would like to recognize the MATC faculty, staff, and administration for all of their efforts in making sure that each student is successful. Personally, this has been very helpful while going through this difficult time. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I look forward to the next meeting.
Thank you very much. Great to hear from you, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again at the next meeting. Next is Milwaukee PBS General Manager's Report by Bodan Zachary.
Chairperson Foley, board members, Dr. Martin, good afternoon. With Thanksgiving upon us, Milwaukee PBS is about to begin its annual year-end fundraising drive. We've scheduled lots of wonderful specials and hope viewers will respond positively to the selections. Once we're out of pledge and ease back to regular programming, Milwaukee PBS will broadcast the MATC virtual commencement ceremony. We'll premiere the event Saturday, December 19th at 4:30 p.m. on Channel 10, and we'll rebroadcast it the next day, Sunday, December 20th on Channel 36 at 4 p.m. We will end the year with a hopeful musical event, 2 concert performances by the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra. They will air on Channel 10, December 31st, beginning at 7 p.m. We're also well underway for planning specials from Black Nouveau, Adelante, and 1036 to deal with the vaccine, the treatment options, and also distribution issues to help our community prepare for that. And also at the end of January, you will get invitations to attend a special 1-hour event called Understanding Implicit Bias that will be hosted by the City Poet Laureate Dasha Kelly Hamilton, and her husband, Kima Hamilton. We will do this at the end of January, record it, and then broadcast it in February. So more on that soon. This brings my report to an end. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you. And happy Thanksgiving.
Any questions for Mr. Zachary? Okay, great. Thank you, Baran. Next is the Legislative Matters Report. I think Vice President Falkenberg is going to introduce this.
Sure. I would just like to introduce Remy Zelenkova, our lobbyist, to provide the report tonight.
Great. Thank you, Janice. Good afternoon, everyone. My report is slim this evening. You should have that in front of you. I want to highlight 3 current items in particular that are ongoing. Governor Evers has unveiled another COVID-19 relief package specific to the state. Conversations with legislative leaders are ongoing in regards to whether or not they will identify some compromise language and come in yet this year to advance something that is still to be determined, however. Currently, the governor's package includes a number of items, but primarily focused on the health system needs, telehealth services, for example, workers' compensation benefits for certain critical workers, among other provisions. So that is currently an ongoing conversation with the legislative leaders in the legislature. The Department of Administration released last week state revenue projections, and right now it looks like revenues will actually modestly increase over the next 3 fiscal years. The state's general fund balance is projected to be in the positive of $1.2 billion at the end of the current fiscal year, which will end next June 30th. And then the state is expected to see additional revenue growth over the next biennium of just over $1 billion. So what that means for us now today is that the state will unlikely need to take up a budget repair bill. That was something that was unknown a number of months ago. But with the fiscal year coming to a close in approximately 7 months, the revenue projections are looking positive. And so right now, I would say it's unlikely that the legislature will need to address budget cuts in the current fiscal year. That also means that for the next biennial budget process, which will begin next year, our revenues are looking okay in that we are moving in the right direction, which would hopefully then potentially limit or soften any reductions that we might see specific to the technical college system. Right now, and I included in the report 3 reminders of where agency budgets are coming in, some of the larger agencies. Department of Health Services and the Department of Public Instruction are always the larger requests. Very rarely are the requests approved in their full requests. So we will see what that looks like throughout the process. As a reminder, the Wisconsin Technical College system requested approximately a 2% increase, with the majority of those dollars going toward grants for district boards to target adult basic education programs. And then lastly, I'd just like to highlight something that we have been watching and monitoring: the Speaker's Task Force on Racial Disparities. They've had one initial meeting, and they've now divided into 2 subcommittees, one on education and economic development, the other on law enforcement policies and standards. Both subcommittees met last week just to hear from those impacted by police brutality, and also to learn more about educational disparities as well. So we will continue to monitor that process as well. And with that, I will complete my report and be available for any questions.
Any questions for Rami? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will move on to the advisory audit report. Mr. Hollow.
Hello again. The Advisory Audit Committee meeting was held on Wednesday, November 18th. Mr. Paul France, the external auditor, reported on the audit. I won't repeat what he said. It was very similar. Mr. Brian Kubik, manager of internal audit, provided an internal audit update. This included a discussion about the results of the risk assessment and the resulting plans for the remainder of fiscal year 2021. 2 new audits are a review of MATC's work from home oversight, and a special project related to cybersecurity awareness and training. Discussion included the key risks in these areas posed to the college, as well as how they link to MATC's strategic objectives. Additionally, an update was provided on the audit plan for fiscal year 2021, an update on management's completion of action plans from prior audits, an update on MATC's involvement in the initiative Moonshot for Equity, and how the firm EAB's involvement and our implementation of the technology platform Navigate will allow MATC to meet the Guided Pathways goal of stay on the path. Finally, an update on the Advisory Audit Committee's charter compliance. All items were met for fiscal year 2020-21 as of October 31st, 2020. That's the end of the audit report. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Hollow on the advisory audit report? There appearing to be none. Let's move on. Thank you, Mr. Hollow. Let's move on to the board monitoring the enrollment report. I believe Dr. Dakwar will speak to that tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson Foley. This is rather a brief report. So there's been a slight increase since we last presented to you. As of today, we are 6.8% behind our goal year to date. This combines both summer and fall enrollments. A number of key strategies have been implemented, including advising efforts, outreach efforts by pathway teams and faculty, registration events, program orientations, student engagement efforts, and some release of second 8-week classes. I think that's what led to some of the increase. So this is year to date, fall and summer combined. Looking ahead, and as far as the spring goes, we're showing about 25% behind goal year to date. And this is still too early, to really kind of, gauge any kind of real kind of numbers, because it continues to fluctuate. Only last week we're above, this week we're behind. So this is time of great fluctuation. So we're hoping to start to see some steady numbers and some growth in this area. We are taking some key measures. We're looking at the applications. We're looking at conversions from applicants to registrants. And we are revisiting some of our retention strategies as well. So as of today, we are about 25% behind. That concludes my report. Any questions?
Any questions on the enrollment report? All right, thank you, Dr. Dakwar. Next, facilities master planning, and I believe we will again begin with Vice President Falkenberg.
Well, good evening, everyone. I want to kind of introduce this topic, and I'm seeing if our consultants are on the line, and I'm not seeing them here. So I'm hoping they're going to be joining us shortly.
They need to be added in, is my guess.
Okay, do they need to be admitted into the room, or?
I don't have anyone in the waiting room.
Okay, all right. I've been texting. I'll give them a call.
Okay, so perhaps we can go to the next agenda item and come back to this when we have our consultants on the line, because they will be presenting a brief presentation on our facilities master planning project.
Okay, let's do that. Let's go to the pathways presentation and apprenticeships by Dr. Dakwar and David Polk.
Thank you, Chair Foley. PowerPoint presentation was sent to the board a couple of weeks ago for their review. Director David Polk and I are in this meeting to address any questions that they may have.
Anyone have questions on the apprenticeship report? Okay, I've got one question, and that is, what efforts do we make? What do we have underway? What are we thinking about doing to expand not just participation in the existing apprenticeships, but to develop additional apprenticeships? Can you address that, Dr. Dakwar?
Sure. I see Director, go ahead, David.
I'm not quite a doctor yet, but in the presentation, we are looking for the next apprenticeship. We're actually revising what used to be the restaurant cook chef apprenticeship and renaming it the Culinary Apprenticeship. That apprenticeship will be in the format of the Facilities Maintenance Apprenticeship that I had presented to the board earlier this year, where we have taken courses that we already run in our associate degree program, and we've kind of broken them out to use them in apprenticeship. This model is beneficial not only to the college, but to the apprentice, because if they're taking associate degree level courses from an associate degree program, that also pathways them to gain credit and pursue the full associate degree later. We're also looking into the IT help desk apprenticeship, and we're also working on building the facilities maintenance apprenticeship. We're in talks with other hospitals, and actually I've been in talk with James Weishen to discuss ways that the college can start to sponsor apprentices for our own facilities department, which would be beneficial to the college and to our student body.
A specific question. Last spring, before some crazy virus attacked the country broadly, there was conversation with Versity, previously known as the Blood Bank of Wisconsin, about their need for phlebotomists and a desire to look into apprenticeships in that area. Is anything happening there, or is that some effort we can renew?
I had not had conversations with them on building a new apprenticeship specifically for phlebotomy. We do have the brand new pharmacy tech apprenticeship that we kicked off this semester that's doing very, very well. But I had not been in talks with them for a phlebotomy apprenticeship.
Okay, if you would send me an email message, please, and I'll send you back the name of the individual there that had expressed interest in that.
Director, Chairperson Foley, feel free to forward that to me. I'll be glad to talk to David and then to Dr. Dries as well. She's our Dean of Healthcare Pathway as well. We'll be glad to take a look at it right away.
All right, I'll send it to you then. Any other questions about the pathway presentation? Okay, are we ready to talk about facilities management? Yep.
So I do see we have one of our people on here, so I think I will go ahead and kick this off. So we do have with us today individuals from Strang Architects who have been helping us since the beginning of this year to help us formulate a long-term facilities master plan. And I know the board had brought up some concerns or questions about what we're doing in the age of the pandemic and looking at the use of our square footage and constricting our square footage. And that's what Strang Architects is really helping us revision what our future is going to look like on our campuses, and where we have additional space that we may think about reallocation. So I have here today Drew Martin and Peter Tan from Strang Architects. I don't know if Larry Barton on the call as well, but they are going to walk through a brief presentation for the board in terms of what they've been doing and holding a lot of listening sessions, focus groups with our constituencies, internal to the college as well as external to the college, to understand our needs and to draft this plan for us. So I'm going to send it over to Drew and Peter.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm Drew Martin. I'm an architect and project manager at Strang. I'm joined by Peter, as Janice said. Peter, go ahead.
Yes, hi. My name is Peter Tan. I'm an architect too, and I'm the Chief Design Officer at Strang. And I'm very happy to be here today. We've done we've worked on many master plans for many technical colleges and campuses throughout Wisconsin and some in South Dakota as well. Happy to be here today.
So I'm wondering if it's possible for us to share our screen. I do have our presentation. If not, we can definitely just say next slide.
Somebody is sharing the slides, so I don't know if that's
That's
Beth.
Mike. No, that's Mike. Mike, can
Okay.
you stop sharing? We're going to allow Strang to share themselves. So now that they're on, I need to make them a co-host. Hold on.
Okay, I think I got it. Okay, so we're going to go through about 20 slides here really quickly, about 10 minutes, and then we'll open it up to questions. So let's just jump right in. As Janice said, we did a number of listening sessions throughout the year. We talked to, I think, 18 different groups. And I just thought that this was a really interesting way of visualizing the notes from the various sessions that we had. The size of the words is the frequency that came up in our notes. And so you can see the priorities really quickly: diversity, future, students. These are the focuses of the master plan. So after those listening sessions and working with the steering committee, we have developed a set of guiding principles. I'm not going to read all the words here, but I am going to read the bold words. And I hope that you've all received this if you want to look at these in more detail. But the guiding principles are a set of instructions for us as we put together the master plan. And I think first and foremost, we want to be sure that MATC going into the future empowers students to succeed. And we want to foster a vibrant campus community, tailoring student services to specific needs, improve the community's overall perception of MATC, develop a consistent brand, plan for a sustainable and resilient future, and strengthen MATC's culture. And we've really identified all of these are equally important, but for this master planning effort, a lot of the direct impacts come from the second two bullet points. And as we go through our diagrams, look for these circles on the diagrams. So green circles are outdoor space, blue circles are public indoor space, orange circles are these student services functions, and then the yellow arrows are the main street, the activated adjacencies throughout the building. So we're really focused on creating hubs of activity and vibrant public space to help build community. And a lot of that goes with our vision for the future in light of COVID. We all know that education has changed, and in some ways it forced our hand towards trends that were already happening, but asynchronous education, blended classrooms, these are all, we think, here to stay. But we don't think that this relegates the campus in any way. It's still a very important part of the community, specifically the MATC community, and we want to provide these public spaces in order to build community. So Peter, on to you.
Okay, well, thanks, Drew. So we'll start with the downtown campus and just share some of the big picture thoughts, and then we'll take this to the other regional campuses as well. So the big idea for the downtown campus is that this campus wants to be an outward-facing campus, and to give the campus a consistent identity, and also think of the campus as a whole series of spaces and connection of this campus to Milwaukee's public realm, making the campus really a part of the whole urban fabric of downtown Milwaukee as well. So you can see here this plan shows the blue rectangle shows the main campus, and if you look over to the east, north is up, is the Journal Square project, and the yellow arrows signify the main streets, the main kind of corridors of 6th Street, 7th Street, going north-south, and then 8th Street, and then the east-west Highland Avenue. So, but the most important two spaces, public spaces within to give the downtown campus, a sense of place would be how we're going to transform 7th Street and Highland Avenue into public spaces that really emphasize the public realm of the campus. So next slide, please. So here we go, the two major axes, okay, Highland and 7th Street. And one of the big picture ideas here is to give this campus an outward facing sense. So we've taken the metaphor of a storefront, maybe not the literal commercial storefront, but on the activating the ground floor of the building, the way it meets the street, and the sense of the campus public spaces, both indoor and outdoor. And there's this kind of flow between the inside and the outside of the campus, the way of connecting the campus to the rest of Milwaukee, to the community. And the red arrows are the entrances. The bigger arrows mean the bigger entrances, and the smaller arrows are the not so, the more minor entrances. But as you think about how the inside and the outside spaces, main spaces of the campus relate to to its context, we think about the entrances and also traffic, parking and pedestrian circulation. So certainly you're looking at the gray arrows are all the public, all the parking spaces, and how in many ways we have to think about how when someone parks, how the one walks and approaches the campus. So let's take a look at this. So for example, the parking structure on the west side of the campus, you'd come out off the and you walk along the street and you enter the main street town square from the main square on okay, here you go. So we're developing a new entrance right at right there to enter the C building, as well as to the south of the campus, developing the southern edge of the campus and entering the S building right there, enhancing that. So now let's take a look at the two main axes through the campus: the north-south axis, or the north-south axis, going right through 7th Street, and the idea of turning it into a vital pedestrian corridor. That the whole idea of a woonnerf, which is a concept that's developed in the Netherlands, that in that space where the vehicles are allowed on that space, but a motorist, when they're driving in that space, they get the sense that the space belongs to the pedestrian. So by visual cues and how you design it. So that extends all the way through the campus, all the way through the north to the northern entrance, and then transforming Highland as an east-west axis, same thing, emphasizing the pedestrian, but also allowing vehicular access down into the campus to the parking and the service entrances. So now it's as you understand this is your campus is not a flat campus. The dashed lines show the break between the first floor and the second floor. So this is the first floor. So the southeast side of it is where all the entrances are, and then on the first floor, and then the campus slopes up to the northwest. So now you can see that all the green spaces are how we're proposing that we develop the outdoor spaces and how they relate to the blue areas, which are the public spaces within the building. So look for all the overlaps between the spaces, between the indoor and the outdoor, because we're trying to kind of relate the inside of the buildings to the outdoor spaces. And as we think about how the campus is going to transform itself in response to COVID, in response to all the trends in how educational facilities are done. The one thing we know is that the days of sitting in a 200-seat lecture hall, shoulder to shoulder, those are numbered. But so what we're talking about in this master plan is to reallocate space. The vitality of the campus as a place where students come is still very much an important thing. But students might come to the campus, sit in a third place in a collaborative space, and actually attend a class that's virtual. But the idea of bringing people together on a campus is still a very important part of the educational experience. So let's move to the next slide, please.
And just that slide was our most information dense slide, so we are flying through the rest of this.
Okay, yeah. So sorry. So this is just some images of outdoor spaces, how the building relates to the outside. And this is the north-south axis that goes right through the UW Madison campus that was developed. And we are imagining this for 7th Street as well, how you can really tie all the spaces through as you go through the whole campus. Next, please.
So I'm going to skip this one. We'll go to the Main Street, second floor.
So the second floor, as you know, there's a lot of good work that's been done, and these main streets, the main street extends from the inside to the outside to the inside as well. These quote main streets happen within the buildings, and there's a lot of good work that's already been done, and we are looking at just enhancing it, transforming it. There are some areas where we are just developing better connections through it and just kind of enhancing what's been done. Okay, next please. And on the third floor, again, just enhancing that as well, enhancing all the connections. And on the main M building, on each floor, all the way up and down the building, creating a third place where there's a focus of the community on that floor as well. And then that bridge over in between the T building and the H building, emphasizing that as a third place as well. Okay, next please. And then just some images of a vision for this, that the relationship of the inside spaces to the outside, creating a lot of transparency. So the third places that are inside a building extend right to the outside as well. And then the notion of a main street, these are some photographs from Madison College in Madison that we master planned a few years ago. And the idea of a main street and having storefronts and activity that happen along these main streets. And another one where this is a student success center, and you can have the idea of the main street and all these storefronts and that occurred. That could be pathway hubs, public spaces, collaborative spaces for students, and to have these happily anticipated serendipitous meetings between faculty, students, and staff.
And just very quickly to wrap up, how we're applying a lot of the similar ideas to the satellite campuses as well. So for the satellite campuses, we started our approach by identifying the front and back of the building. So for here at Oak Creek, the south side of the building is a very obvious front to the building. There's also a front on the ECAM that is an architectural statement facing this parking lot as well. We're focusing here for this meeting on the big moves we're proposing for campus. And for the Oak Creek campus, our big move is to create a new entrance or to reprioritize the entrance on the north side of this A building as well, in order to strengthen the access through this building, and through the diagrams I'll continue to show that as well. So that idea of the main street is alive and well here at the Oak Creek campus too, using that existing public entrance as the start for a main axis that goes through the building, down the stairs, and then, as I mentioned, out the other side in this new entrance. And then there's a secondary axis here of the long corridor all the way through the building. And at that important intersection of those two really important axes, we're orienting all of the public spaces and all of the services for the building just to make them readily accessible for everyone. And with this adjacency to green space, both on the north and this really great courtyard, just enhancing those spaces and developing those further and making them accessible to everyone. So similarly at the Mequon campus, here our big move that we're proposing is to prioritize the entrances. In this case, north is to the left. So we're prioritizing the north, east, and west entrances, and downplaying the south entrance in order to reduce the transactional nature of campus. What we really want to avoid is the idea that anyone would come to campus, get out of their car, go into class, go back out to their car, and never really interact with anyone. We're really trying to prioritize the functions of these public spaces in order to build a really strong, vibrant community. And just by having people circulate through those spaces, that's one of the ways that we're proposing to do that. And we've also got a really great courtyard in the center of the building here. So we've got this north entrance. It's the main public entrance, and the main axis here of Main Street is this east-west axis. And then it continues down the stairs to the lower level as well. And here we're just capping that upper level Main Street with really vibrant public spaces at both entrances. So we are proposing reorienting the spaces here adjacent to these entrances to be more of a public focused space. And then on the lower level, that continuation of that axis down the stairs, this really spills into the main public spaces of the building, as well as the pathway hub. And our suggestion here is that this all remains free flowing and transparent so that everyone feels like this courtyard is accessible and they share ownership in it, rather than capping it off with offices and making this sort of an artificial barrier. We really want this to be a welcoming space. And so that's our big idea here, to really prioritize these public spaces and make them all feel welcoming. So that is our presentation, and we'd love to open it up to questions or comments. I can go back to anything if you want to see anything again, by the way.
I actually have a question.
Director Wilson, can you speak up a little bit, please?
I got a lot of background noise going. Where you have your Main Street and public space, is there going to be any place for student information or student help where they don't have to go from Jericho to Jerusalem?
Yeah, we are wanting to centrally locate information and services in the space that is most convenient for everyone. And our philosophy here is that that's the most heavily trafficked space. So at these, if I go to the Oak Creek campus, for example, this major intersection is going to have the most foot traffic of any single location on campus. Obviously, someone who's in ECAM has to come all the way down here, but there is really no centrally located spot that would be perfect. And so our proposal here is that the most heavily trafficked spaces are the ones that we want to prioritize.
Who else?
I have a question about the North Campus. Can you show the map again?
This one?
Yes. I just want to know, like in the back of the campus, I guess that's towards the north, why there wouldn't be any, I'm sorry, south, there wouldn't be any utilization of like that courtyard space in the back for the students? That'd be like a
the courtyard being in the middle of the building?
Nope, like there's a little like nice little area on the, what is that,
Right.
southwest? Yeah,
Right
Yep,
there?
right in there.
Okay.
Sure. There are plans for developing, walking paths around the ponds and other landscape interventions. We haven't looked at this area at all. I will admit, when I was on campus, it was the middle of the winter, so we haven't heard from anyone that this is a space that currently gets used.
Right, and so the thought is that the main the place where we want to really focus our design efforts be on towards the west of the main building, where the cafeteria and the lower level kind of spills out. So you kind of have this extension of the third place and the vitality of the places where the students gather inside to extend all the way out to this outdoor plaza area, and then by extension all the way to the lake as well, the pond. So and then going to the east all the way through, as Drew shared, right through the pathway hub area, right into the courtyard. So there's this kind of continuum of spaces that could be really quite nice, all the way from that courtyard through the cafeteria, through the outdoor plaza to the pond. So, but we will, based on your recommendations, we can take a look at how we can engage that green space just to the south of that plaza area as well, and see how that will work. Looks like there is a service access right to the loading areas just right there that separates the main kind of outdoor patio area from that. But we can certainly look at opportunities for how we can begin to kind of tie those together.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then I'm going to ask a couple of questions here, and perhaps this is going to sound a bit heretical, but I really don't understand what we're doing here. Can you go back to the list of goals you started with? Other than bullet point 2, I don't see how what you're proposing here does any of the rest of this. My questions about facilities begin with, are we going to have nearly as many people coming to these campuses as we have historically, given what we've learned about pandemics and online education, and what seems to be a consensus, at least in the press, that we're going to have more online education or hybrids than we did before? And what is the impact of that on the footprint and the size and the design of these buildings? I don't see that addressed at all. Your exemplars include UW and Wash U and Ohio State, all of which are dormitory intensive, or at least neighborhood student residence intensive locations. And that doesn't describe any of our campuses. So when you say that you're going to have street level storefronts, I don't know what suggests that the street level storefronts are going to have a market. Or are you saying they're going to be like storefronts, but not actual storefronts? I think I heard you say that. I'm not sure.
Exactly. Yeah, they're like it's getting a level of transparency and openness. Yeah, I was careful to say it's not retail. It's a metaphor of a storefront.
Okay. And so are you going to have classrooms on the first floors that are open to viewing from the street? I mean, what does that actually mean?
I think that one of the things we've discussed as an example in the M building on the first floor currently, there are already a lot of retail or pseudo retail functions that maybe you wouldn't even know are there unless you are already in the know. Like the restaurant, the barber cosmetology, these do offer services to the public, that maybe the public isn't even aware about. So for the restaurant, we've talked about just terraced outdoor seating and more transparency. These are ways that we could accomplish that, but it's not necessarily limited to just those retail functions either. But they are tied to the programs, but in a way that brings the public into the building.
Okay. The comment that when you saw the space in Oak Creek, it was winter and we all kind of laughed. Yeah, there's a lot of that here.
Yep.
Which means, I don't know if terraced outdoor seating makes sense because you can't really use it for 6 months out of the year. So I don't know what to make of this, really. You said you wanted to develop a consistent brand based on our college being the most diverse. And again, I don't see how what you're proposing addresses that. I don't get it. I mean, I'm sorry to throw a wet blanket on this, but I don't get it.
So maybe I can chime in a little bit here. I think what we've heard, and if you go through our buildings and what we've been trying to do for the last couple of years is to really create student space where they can engage and build community. Our history has been that our students are very transactional. They don't live on campus. They don't engage in student activities. And in order to retain our students in their education, we need to engage them in our community. And I think that's what these spaces are trying to accomplish that Peter and Drew just laid out, creating those spaces where people are engaging with each other. Obviously now is not the time to be doing that, but we know that we will come out of this situation that we're in right now. And in order for us to create space where students can feel a sense of belonging and a safe space to engage in the activities and to engage in their education will be extremely important for retention and recruitment efforts. We are going to be engaging. We're in the process of looking at engaging a consulting firm that will help us better understand our enrollment strategy and our academic plan, which will help us in this plan as well, really understand how we are going to plan for the future in terms of just the things you talked about, Director Foley. How much on-campus classes are we going to have versus online? How much program expansion do we have in certain programs versus others that will be constricting just because of the marketplace? What is the demand in our community for certain programs in terms of job opportunities? So we're in the process of doing all of that. The purpose of this presentation is to show you some examples of things that we're engaged in right now with this planning process, which has been more the exterior of the campus to create more of a sense of entrance and belonging in the community. If you look at the way we're set up now downtown, we're just a bunch of buildings and there really isn't a lot of cohesiveness showing who we are as a college. And what we stand for, and that's really developing that consistent brand. So I hope that provides you a little bit more detail and background on what we're trying to accomplish.
Right, and one of the things as we've been working on this master plan with the MATC team is that we've talked about the short-term response to COVID and in the pandemic, but we know that a master plan is about the long term, right? We will come out of this and we know that education, higher education will forever be changed. And so what is that? What will it be? So we are looking at how we can reallocate space. And as we've talked with the MATC community, what we've heard and what we are beginning to kind of lean to here is that it's reallocation of space. That the sense of a campus is still a very important thing, because if with virtual learning, there's still a sense of students, faculty coming together to learn together, but how that is going to be different. So the idea then that we are creating these third places on campus recognizing, yes, we do have winter 4 months out of the year, 5 months out of the year, but that you can have students actually attending class not in a classroom potentially, but in a third place that is flexible enough that so that they can be this not so transactional nature of this getting education. There's part of being part of a community. People still need to be. We are designed to be social beings. We're still recognizing the fact that we need to get together, but not in the way it used to be. So we are looking to the long term, and our sense is that it's going to be different, but we're still, the sense of a campus is still going to be a very important part of higher education. And in fact, creating that's why we're looking at, how does the downtown campus meet the Milwaukee community? How does it tie in with the public realm and the streets and the spaces of Milwaukee? And similarly with the regional campuses as well, tying these buildings into the greater community, and taking the metaphor of the main street from the outside to the inside of the building, through and through.
So if I could just intervene, I think we probably need to have that detail that Janice just brought up of having the academic plan as part of this as well. I think having MATC as a destination for some of our partners to avoid some of the duplication of services and space that we currently see with a lot of our universities by working together. We have a lot of our four-year partners who'd like to be on campus more, our employers who'd like to be on campus for recruiting, those sorts of things. So I think as a destination place for students and our community, we could probably, this plan will help with that, but I think we do need to have some more detail, and I hope that helps, Chair Foley, that we'll bring it back with a lot more detail, and then maybe we'll come back to these guiding principles, so make sure that those are in that next presentation.
Okay.
Anybody else? Director Olson.
Yeah, I have a question about, I heard what Janice said, and it helped what Dr. Martin just clarified too. I'm just, again, the order of information we're getting. So I like seeing the schematics and can understand that role. I'm wondering, to what level are the students themselves being asked how they will use it? Because I think in my role, I always have to remind myself too that sometimes the adults, in our case, plan for what we believe the students will use it for, and then sometimes we forget to actually engage them in the process of how they will actually use it. And so I guess that's a question I have about, to what extent will the students themselves be involved in how we anticipate it will be used?
So through the listening stage of this, we had sessions where we listen to students. We are also having these town hall meetings where the greater community, and which includes students, are invited as well. So we have arranged situations where the students have been invited to attend and lend their opinions.
Okay, I would just, I guess, inviting is one thing, but to ensure that they have a voice if we're not getting the level of participation, because we know sometimes just an invitation doesn't guarantee that they will come to things like that. So I guess I would just want to make sure that we really are getting their voice if we're going to start engaging in this process, to make sure we don't get too far down the road into something that we think meets our needs or the other greater community. I know that we're balancing, trying to take into consideration a lot of factors, but I would also try to make sure that more than an invitation, we're really making sure that they're represented there at the table. So that was just my comment.
Great.
Yeah, and we'll certainly engage student government and the student organizations that tend to be more accessible to help us in guiding this process as well.
I just wanted to say, I guess I've taken a different kind of outlook than Mark on this, because given some of the students that we serve, I think this would be a wonderful way to help them in many ways, because coming in a place, sometimes we come from places that aren't necessarily the place we want to be when we finish school. And this kind of an atmosphere, to me, would make a whole lot of difference in most of the areas. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, I think. So I think it's a grand idea, and I really like it. I just want to make sure it's convenient to the.
Yeah, thank you, Director Wilson, for that. And I think that's what we feel too. We believe our students need a safe place to come to and learn. And even though they may be, as Peter had mentioned, taking classes online, they're still coming to campus. Perhaps they don't have technology at home. They don't have access to the resources that they need. And they're in our computer labs and using our spaces. So that's really the type of community we're trying to create, where people can come, feel safe, have access to affordable food options, and have the ability to come in and get the resources that they need. And that's what these spaces create. Now, certainly working on the academic side to ensure that our planning for classroom space and other flexible space is needed, that's kind of the next step. So I hope that provides some context for what we're trying to create here.
And if they got 2 or 3 kids, they'll be glad to get there.
Anybody else? Questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Janice, Drew, Peter.
Okay.
Very good.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to our last board monitoring matter, the OPEB and FCC trust report. Mr. Hollow.
Hello. I guess Beth or Mike, do we have the document to share or no? If not, I'll just talk to it.
Yeah, I can bring it up.
Okay.
Oh.
I can start talking about the performance. The OPEB trust at the beginning of quarter. Okay, I guess I'll talk about the FCC trust. If we look at this document, and this was all sent to each one of you, the left-hand side is what they refer to as an asset allocation. You can see how much in dollars and percentages was allocated in a large group of investments. And then below you can see the, graph which shows the asset allocation. On the right side is a performance summary. And a performance summary is exhibited as compared to a benchmark. So if we look at the first column, you see the 6.19%. That's the actual performance for the quarter. The quarter ended September 30th. We had a 6.19% compared to what and they use the blended benchmarks. Blended benchmarks are kind of like an average of the similar investments and how they performed. The performance in this particular situation for the quarter was a bit better than the average market blended benchmark. And if we look down below, in the performance summary for the quarter ended, we started the quarter with $90.2 million of investments. And at the end of September 30th, we had roughly $95.8 million. So a significant increase. It's about a $5.5 million increase from June to September. I just wanted to mention that right now, yesterday, the closing value of this particular investment was $100 million. So we're up a little bit higher than it shows as of September 30th. Okay, I'll just plot any questions related to the FCC trust. Okay, let's look at the OPEB trust. The OPEB trust is the other post-employment benefits trust. This is basically paying for health insurance costs for those who are eligible to receive health insurance benefits in retirement. And so if we, very similar to the FCC trust, we see the asset allocation on the left, both numerically, percentages, and graphically. And on the right-hand side, you can see the performance summary. And you can see we had the actual performance was 6.58% compared to the blended benchmark of 5.98. And down below, the beginning market value was roughly $4 million. And at the end of, it's September 30th, the end of the quarter, we had 38,700,000 roughly. And that was about a $3.3 million increase. And once again, I always look at, on a daily basis, I look at the value of both trusts. And yesterday's value closing was 41 million. So we're a little bit higher than the 38.7 million. So I'll just pause to see if anybody has any questions. Okay. Thank you very much.
None. Thank you, Jeff. Next, new business. I have none. Anyone else have any new business to raise? All right, future events. Our next board meeting is earlier in the month because of the holidays. It is on the 3rd, not the 4th Tuesday. So the next board meeting is December 15, 2020 at 4:00 p.m. As board members know, we have on our agenda tonight a closed session for review of a termination appeal. And I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So motion to go into closed session.
I would like to make that motion.
Yeah, Director Olson.
I'll second it.
Okay. I move that the district board convene into closed session pursuant to sections 19.851B and E of the Wisconsin statutes to discuss item 11A, review of termination appeal by Dr. Jose Elias Garcia to consider the employment status of a former district employee. The board will reconvene into open session to take action on matters discussed in closed session under item 11A.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Case. We have a motion by Director Olson, a second by Director Case. All those in favor of moving to closed session, please indicate that by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I think you need to do a roll call vote.
I'm moving into closed session.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My apologies.
That's all right.
Green, would you take the roll call then, please?
Certainly. Director Mays.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
Director Phelps-Socorro.
Aye.
Director Wilson.
Aye.
Director Case.
Aye.
Director Hamilton.
Aye.
Director Mendieta Ramos.
Aye.
Director Mitchell.
Aye.
Director Foley.
Aye. It's unanimous. We will go into closed session. We need to do a couple of things technically to accomplish that. And we will take we make it a 5-minute break so we can get onto the last item quickly as possible. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. And Beth, do we need to do anything or will you just be putting us into a room?
I'll be putting you in there. It should be taking you there, but I'll make sure everyone's there.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are going into closed session. We'll be back in 5 minutes, which will be at about 12 minutes to 6. Thank you.
Elizabeth? Beth? Oh, okay. I see people are showing up.
Beth, are you there, or Gwen?
We made it.
Yes, but I think it still tells the world that we are in closed session. Let me send them an email quickly.
Thank you.
Mark, you're back. I have it now.
Okay. Okay.
Who else is here from the board?
12 participants.
Can you
We
hear?
have Case, Foley, Phelps Okoro, Olson, Hamilton, Mitchell, Andita Ramos, and Wilson, Nikki Mays. That's everybody.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can.
I can hear.
And we
Yes.
had a motion seconded to end the closed session and go back into open session, and it was passed unanimously by roll call vote. And now we have
At this
a
point,
motion.
Elizabeth, Beth, are we in public now at this point?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you very much. And my understanding after the discussion is that there's going to be a motion. I'll read something and then see if any of the board members will make this motion. And this is a motion to uphold the decision of the impartial hearing officer, James Hall, regarding the step three appeal of Dr. Jose Elias Garcia.
I move to support the independent hearing officer decision.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we need a roll call vote for this or just a voice vote?
I believe a voice vote is sufficient.
Okay, would all those in favor of the motion to uphold the hearing officer's decision indicate that by saying aye?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes.
Excuse me, Mark.
Yeah.
Who seconded the motion? I didn't catch that.
Speak up, please.
I did.
I did.
Yeah.
I guess.
Half the board did. It was hard to tell who.
Phelps
Why don't we
Okoro.
pick on Director Phelps Okoro today for that.
Thank you.
That's the end of our agenda. Thank you for sticking with us tonight and for taking the time to read that extensive record. And I wish all of you the best this holiday. Please stay healthy. Have a great holiday despite staying healthy or because you stay healthy. And we'll see you all back here on the 15th. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And a second? You wanted to get
Sir.
that in quick. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Thank you. Good night.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Everybody enjoy your weekend.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.